Well, y'all want to see what a broken man looks like? You're looking at one right now. It's a day and a half later than last time I saw you. What are you doing with forklifts? What are you doing, forklifts?
Moving this freaking thing.
Don't spill it. Anyway, it's a day and a half since I last seen you. We ain't done any picking in that day and a half. Anyways, as I was editing this video, I realized that the next clip I recorded after the opening clip got corrupted, didn't have any audio, whatever. So let me explain what went on, because that's the only time that I talked about it. The previous day before we went to the cotton field, I was getting my grain bin system set up for somebody else to come dump their grain in a grain bin, because I was renting a grain bin out because of our short crop, and just getting it set up to make sure it was dumping in the correct bin and everything. And as I was walking around and checking things, I went around to bin number 4, which is the bin off to the side, and I noticed a few kernels of corn underneath the first door. Grain bins have 2 sets of doors. They got the inner sets of doors that press against the wall and lock in place, and that's what supports all the weight of the grain coming against the door. And then you got the outer door, which is just a flimsy weather cover, not supposed to be load bearing or carry any weight or anything like that. But anyway, I noticed a few kernels of corn underneath that outside door, and I wasn't even thinking about it, but I just was curious where that corn come from. So anyway, I opened up the outside door, and apparently I had forgotten, when we were getting the grain bin set up the first time, I had forgotten to close the very top of the 3-section inner door, and it was wide open, and you had all of that grain. The grain bin was close to full, had some like 35,000, 37,000 bushels of corn in there. And anyway, as soon as I opened that outside door, because the inside top door was open, all of that grain just come rushing out. Anyway, I didn't film anything that day cleaning up or whatever, because frankly I was not in the state of mind to film. It would not have been some good clips. I was very, very aggravated, and because we were losing a day of picking cotton, we had this huge mess to clean up. And at first I was like, I don't know how I'm going to clean it up, because the only thing that will clean it up will be a grain vac. And fortunately, I remember that my friend Dylan had just bought a grain vac a year or 2 before, so he was my first call. Called Dylan Joyce of Joyce Brothers Farms. They're on YouTube. Be sure to check out their channel, and asked him if I could borrow his grain vac, and he said come get it. Anyway, drove the 40-minute drive to Dyer, picked up the grain vac, brought it back, and then we spent the rest of that day vacuuming up that grain, because not only did we have to vacuum up the pile of grain that was outside the bin, because there was absolutely no way to shut the inner door, because it opens inwards, and all of that grain was wanting to come out. There was no way to just close that door and shut off the flow of grain. We had to vacuum out all of the grain from the top until we brought it down to the level of the door, to where we could then grab the door and close it. Anyway, I don't know how many truckloads of grain we vacuumed up. It was probably in the ballpark of 20,000 bushels of grain that we had to vacuum up to get that mess cleaned up. And I think we finally got the door shut about 9:30 or 10 o'clock that night, and then we called it night, because we were slap wore out, because it's just, manhandling that hose, sucking up all that grain and everything. We were just absolutely slap wore out. And then the next morning, where this video starts, we had spent that time vacuuming them up the outside pile of grain. We were very fortunate that the guy that was I was renting the grain bin to hadn't brought in any corn yet, because we had an empty bin, so we would vacuum it all into the grain buggy. Grain buggy would take it, dump it in the truck, and then Andy would dump it in the pit, and we stored it in bin number 2, the empty bin, until we got that level of grain pulled down. And then once we got that done, got everything vacuumed up, we then had to transfer all the corn that we put in bin 2 back in bin 4 to empty it out, so the guys renting the bin 2 could then bring his corn in and start dumping it. But anyway, it was just terrible oversight on my part, and we paid we paid the penalty because we lost a day and a half, and it just about broke me because it was not an easy task getting that grain vacuumed out and finally getting that door shut. You know, I can kind of laugh about it now because it's a month and a half later than when it actually happened. But the day that I was doing all that filming, I mean, I was ill, I was upset, I was physically hurting and everything, and all I want to do was just get done picking cotton. So it's probably a better thing that the audio wasn't working on that clip, because I was able to give you a better explanation right now than what I was then. All right, we trotted on along this bigger part of the field and got right up next to our cornfield. It's a zombie trail that goes around. You can see a fake one out there. And that's supposed to be corn out there. In reality, it's not much of anything but some tall grass out there. I have my doubts if I'll even bring my combine over there and get that. I think it was planted somewhere around June 26th, and the last rain it got was a ½ inch on July 1st, and it got the worst of the drought and thin hill ground. I mean, I'm just surprised we got what we got out there. I'm surprised we've even got a plant. Yeah, there sure ain't much to look at out there, and as weak as those stalks were, the outside part of the field has absolutely been shredded by all the paintballs. I got a pretty good feeling we probably just going to bring the bush hog over there and just mow all that down. I don't think there's hardly any ears out there. I got another pretty sunset today. Unfortunately, like almost all of our sunsets, it's blocked by trees. But hey, look at this cotton right here. This is what Phytogen 360 is capable of when it gets just a little bit of moisture. Well, some fantastic looking cotton just down here in this little flat. Unfortunately, it's only about 32 rows of good deep flat ground right next to this creek right here. But man alive, that's some fine looking cotton there, and yielding pretty good here too, even if it's a little skippy stand. But look at that average, 600 pounds. Pretty bad. Not our worst farm, but not even we're close to the middle of the road this year. But hey, the positive thing is I ain't got to look at it no more. Grandpa's right behind me with a bush hog. All these stalks going to be cut, and hopefully day after tomorrow we're going to have some wheat drilled on this farm, and then I'll have something good and green, hopefully a good stand, hopefully a profitable looking crop to look at. All we got is well, probably not even quite 10 acres left on this farm. It's right at 6 o'clock. Probably gonna get done with this farm just a little bit before quitting time, but all we got left is another 30-acre farm down the road. Shouldn't have no problem at all getting that done tomorrow. I am whooped. I feel like I've gone 10 rounds with Mike Tyson after wrestling that grain vac for the last couple of days. So I think tonight we just gonna call it an early night. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna chew on some ibuprofen like it's candy and go to bed a little early tonight. Not only have I got work all weekend, we got our busiest weekend of the year on the zombie trail, and I need to get my body prepared for that too. So we're gonna wrap up this farm, and hopefully tomorrow bring us a pretty easy day. Get those 30 acres knocked out in no time, and we will be done with the worst cotton harvest I've had in 18 years.
Missed a good sunset tonight. Moving marshmallows, back to that after our corn escapade. Oh, I never want to have to shovel corn or vacuum corn again if my life depends on it. So we spent, let's see, all day yesterday until 12:30 a.m. vacuuming corn. Thank you so much to Dylan and Robert for letting us borrow their grain vac. That thing was an absolute lifesaver. It's pretty sweet too. It definitely got the job done a lot quicker. But yesterday morning we started about 10 a.m. and then we actually got down to the door at 9:30, and then Matt sat down there for a while and I went down and we transferred everything back from 2 into 4, and then this morning got up early and got everything that was in between the bins. And I went into bin 2 to watch the bin sweep. And then the bin sweep caught a grate, which I knew about. It was bent at the corner. And of course, wouldn't you know it, in 2025 fashion, the grate ended up getting caught up in the auger. Had to call Matt's assistance because there was no way I was lifting that sweep. That sweep is ungodly heavy just for one person. So we were able to get the grate out. Matt was able to fix it because we've rented that bin. And then by the time everything was fixed, the farmer that's renting the bin actually showed up with his truck. So, and you can never ever predict that something like that is gonna happen. And Matt could have been seriously hurt and he wasn't. So very grateful for that. But literally to open a door and get slapped in the face with 20,000 plus bushels of corn is not a good way to start the day. I'm grateful for phone calls from friends. Yesterday I was sitting in this tractor because literally I had a system. As soon as I was full, I'd go around the bin, and then, I mean, we're in tight spaces, up to the house. I was literally unloading corn in my yard, circled back around the house, around the pool, came back, and it was like we did that 4 times an hour for almost 12 hours. But my friends called and I was able to have good conversations with other farming friends. You know, people asking, hey, is everything okay? And that, I think that's the important part right now, is that we check in on each other, because this year is so hard for everyone. So if you've got that friend that you know is struggling in farming, or call them up, talk about really random things. You just have to call up and really just kind of get your mind off of what's happening and be positive. So that's my little rant for the day. Got some more marshmallows. Let's see. So I've got 8, 9, 10 right here. And then there's 4 back at the front of the field where we started. 14 rounds on 60 something acres. That's so bad. That is so bad. Oh, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be wonderful. I'll admit it, I am not a spring chicken anymore. And waking up this morning feeling like someone literally twisted my entire body like a pretzel and did it for about 6 hours straight. Matt can barely move. He's exhausted and tired. I have to give a lot of credit to Andy. He worked really hard yesterday and today. We're all tired. And I'm just grateful that nobody was hurt. And we could be tired and we could be sore, but as we say, if you don't think it can happen, it happens on our farm. We provide awesome, relatable content for everybody.
Alright guys, we're just about done with this farm, but I am out of wrap and gotta make what's probably, gotta make what's gonna be our last wrap change of the year. Alright, because of the extremely short cotton season this year, we haven't gone through near the wrap that I thought we would. I think we used a roll and a half of Tama to begin with, then we opened up this pallet of the Balin green wrap, first time we'd ever used it. And each pallet comes with, I think it's 9 rolls. Well, this roll right here that I'm lowering is roll number 8 of it. So we got 1 roll left back at the shop of this Balin green wrap. So we done 7 complete rolls of the Balin green this season. So what's my opinion of this Baling Green ramp? I'm gonna be ordering it again next year. I think it's a really good ramp, and at the price point that it's at, and what the rep tells me is they're hoping to get it even cheaper next year, so I'm definitely going to be using it. However, there are a few things about it. The Tama ramp, I think, is just a smidge better. There are a couple of things about this Baling Green that are a little annoying. First thing is these tabs right here. Well, that one pulled off easy. But see right there, you see it didn't pull all the way off these little tabs. I've never had a problem with Tama. I mean, they pull off nice and easy, whereas these Baling Green ones, they're stuck on there a little bit more. That one did good. Well, that one ripped, but not before it got it loose. And that one came off all right. I mean, we're talking about just nitpicking stuff right there. The other thing is that I've had slightly more issues out of this wrap than I have the Tama wrap. And the only thing that's happened is that this Baling Green has wrapped around this bottom roller just a little bit more than what I've experienced with Tama. I think last year with Tama wraps, I think I had 2 wraps wrapped around this bottom roller the entire season. Whereas this year with the Baling Green, I've had it wrap around the bottom roller, I think 3 times. So I don't know if maybe they need a little bit more talc on the wrap or what, but I mean, again, we're talking about small things. But other than that, I mean, every roll has wrapped, you know, perfectly. Haven't had any problem with the adhesive, thinking that's going to come loose or anything like that. Now this year, you know, modules aren't sitting out in the field for a long time. Gin's coming and getting them real quick because, I mean, they're looking for the kinds of gin and not a lot of people are producing it. So, you know, I really can't comment about this stuff lasting a long time on rolls out in the field a long time, but I'm confident with it. The material feels just a little bit different than the Tama does. Maybe a little bit more crinkly on parts of it, but overall, I'm thrilled with it. I mean, for the price point that you get it at, you know, what, around 75% of the cost of what Tama is, it's some dang good wrap. And I'm gonna call my rep up and tell him I want another pallet for next year. All right, made a pretty quick pit stop. Get back on the picker, get this farm finished up. I called Kelly on the radio, told her I feel like crap. I'm hungry, I don't feel like cooking supper. I know she doesn't feel like cooking supper, so I asked her what her opinion of Mexican was. And lo and behold, she agreed with me. So I'm gonna get this field done so we can get to the Mexican restaurant before they close for the night. This old boy wants a tall Dos Equis. A mighty fine day to finish picking cotton today. 30.82 acres, let's get her done. All right, while we get everything warmed up, take a look at our last farm of cotton. Now this is just one field. We got like 12 acres here, and then we got to go down the road about 3/4 of a mile, go through the woods to get the rest of the farm. But all throughout the year, I was firmly expecting this to be my worst farm of cotton. Now, it looks significantly better than what I thought it would, but I certainly don't expect this to set the world on fire. We had to replant this whole farm, and just all throughout the growing season, it just didn't look right. I mean, the drought caused a lot of it, but it just didn't look like it had a whole lot of bowls and stuff on it. And I said before we started cotton harvest, I thought we'd have some 600-pound cotton, and I thought we'd have some 1,200-pound cotton. Well, we didn't have any 1,200-pound cotton. The 600-pound cotton I thought was going to be this farm. I didn't think it was going to be the Clanton farm, which I think was below 600 pounds. So hopefully this isn't my worst farm. Hopefully this is at least 600 pounds or better. We just about got the heads warmed up. Let's dive off in there and see what it looks like. Well, once you get out in the field, it doesn't look more impressive than it did from the side. Just because you see a whole lot of white out in the field, it don't mean it's good cotton. So, what does the yield monitor say? Pretty abysmal there. Folks, I do believe we may have saved our worst for last.
Our sun finally went away. We are on the very last farm of cotton. And clearly I am the pack horse. Matt's lunch, forgot his jacket, mine, dog. I'm always the one who has everything in the tractor. I am in a holding pattern here because there's a beautiful pile of chicken litter in front of me. There's a module hiding behind there. Then I have one sitting here. I was waiting for Dad to get the stalks cut because there's really nowhere to turn around. I don't want to line them up here, so we're gonna line them up over there. Also, it has gotten cold outside. Fall has finally shown up. Matt Griggs is very happy about this. Me, on the other hand, not so much. But, not gonna lie, kind of excited to wear sweatshirts now. The front half of this farm is very easy to get around. The second half is going to be extremely difficult. I have to drive a quarter mile down the street, through the woods, up over this very steep hill, up another steep hill to the back half of the other farm. Then I have to carry one of these back the same way I go. So I'm hoping that they're not, well, I mean, you want more modules over there, but at the same time, I know there's nothing over there. The deer have absolutely decimated the back little fields, and I don't know how much is back there, so I wouldn't be sad if I only carried 2. It's gonna be difficult. This is also the last weekend for the zombie paintball trail and Camp Blood, and Matt Griggs has absolutely had the best time. He has been working over at Camp Blood and really getting into his character and using the absolute horrificness of this fall harvest on this farm and channeling it into his character over on Camp Blood. Of course, I can't tell you what it is. I will let him tell you guys what he did over there. He's had a good time. It's a good outlet for him. Carter drives the 3rd tractor on the zombie trail, and I just kind of go in between people. But it's been a quick October for sure. So when we used to do the square modules, when we had the basket picker, this is where we put them. That way the truck can come and pick up these modules. And because it's a lot easier, I'm gonna line them up with the rows. At nighttime, it's a lot harder to see, but in the daytime, super easy. Just do that, and then move that guy over there. And we'll see where we, how many more Matt can get from this front field. So we were a little late getting out here. Do you want to tell everybody why, Miss Mia? Why were we late getting out here? Did you happen to chase a big crane? Did you chase a big crane? And did you get in trouble with Mommy? She got in trouble because she chased the big crane that's in our backyard. So we were a little late coming out today. But tell everybody what happened. You get in trouble? So I got in trouble. She's also the supervisor of everybody. She has to watch everyone do their work. And if she doesn't approve, she barks a whole lot at them. I just need to get her a collar that says supervisor on it.
All right, 12.67 acres done, and that's what we got. 3 full rolls and probably 2/3 of a roll. Pretty sad. Still too early to tell if this is gonna be my worst farm or not, but it's gonna be pretty close. So now that we got this farm done, we're gonna head down the road through the woods, get everything wrapped up. Let me speed this up so y'all can just see what we gotta deal with to get to the second part of this farm. I'm sure all y'all that are farmers out there, y'all all got that field that's just a pain in the butt to work for whatever reason. Bunch of small fields, difficult to access, problems with logistics of hauling out of it. This farm right here has got all of those problems. And in fact, when we had a basket picker, I dreaded coming over here because this back part of the farm, you know, a module truck cannot access it, so we had to haul all the cotton with a bowl buggy back to where we just were, and that's where the module builders would be. And you talking about a long process because, man, decent cotton, the basket on the picker would be full before Kelly even got out to the road, and then you got to go down the road, dump it into the module builder. And if you're making a complete module, you know, that takes a while to get all that cotton there and packed and coming all the way back. And man, it was a pain in the butt. So this roller picker, it's really going to shine on this part of the farm. I mean, won't have to do any stopping, waiting for a bowl buggy or anything like that. But yeah, it's a pain in the butt to farm. It's a total of 30 acres and 4 different fields. You know, inroads everywhere, surrounded by tall tree lines, as you can see. But in a decent year, I mean, it can be a productive farm. You know, we can make a profit on it. We've got this farm rented extremely cheap, which is the gone all day without a choke up. But anyway, as I was saying, we got this farm rented extremely cheap. Because really nobody else wants to farm it. In fact, the reason I got it is because the previous farmer turned loose of it because they were a lot bigger farmer, and this 30 acres just, it wasn't worth it to them to put up with the hassle of, you know, dealing with the logistics on this farm. That's fine. I'm proud to have it, even though this year, you know, we're not going to be making any profit at all on it. Most years we do, just because, you know, it is so cheap to rent. But anyway, down to 18 acres. I can almost hear the fat lady singing.
Picked up my first one. The real test is going to be up the hill. I'm gonna get out and make sure that the back end is not dragging. I may have to go up the hill backwards if this drags. Because once I get to the road, I still have a quarter mile to get down the street, and I can't be dragging cotton all the way across. Alright, let's see if I got clearance. Oh, it looks like I do. Alright. The problem is I don't want to do a papa wheelie because she is so heavy. So, should be good on clearance. I don't know. Well, we're fixing to find out, because if I don't, I guess I'm getting a whole bunch of duct tape. Praise Jesus. Let's just, I don't know. I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna try and get a running start. Oh, please don't let it rip. Please don't let me fall backwards. Oh, Jesus. God dang it. Come on, girl. Come on. Please don't fall out. Come on. Oh my God. The tires aren't even on the ground. Scary. Oh, am I leaving cotton behind? I don't know. I don't think I did. Oh, thank you, Jesus.
All right, we're on the last couple pitiful fields here, and I know I've shown y'all deer damage on soybeans before, but let me show you some deer damage on cotton right up here. You see this corner? I mean, there ain't nothing there. That is from deer feeding on this corner. Oh, well, at least the first half of the early life. There's a few stalks out there where they finally, I guess they finally got a little too woody for them. Yeah, all of this corner right here is deer damage. Worst I've ever seen in my life of deer damage on cotton. I've seen them nibble on it a little bit, but I've never seen it wipe it out to where it doesn't produce anything. The drought ain't got nothing to do with this corner of the field. It is strictly wildlife. All right, here it is, last field. I don't know, maybe 3/4 of an acre. For whatever reason, deer really didn't mess with this field. I have no idea why. We got a 48-inch module and the accumulator almost full. I wonder if I'll be able to pack it all in. The way the rest of this farm is done, I don't think that will be a problem. I mean, our average is sitting on 516 pounds to the acre. And based upon how many modules, or based upon how few modules I've made, I'd say that monitored probably pretty close. I mean, we definitely saved the worst for last. I was hoping that this would be Clanton. Really didn't see any reason why it would be Clanton, because the ground's not as good. But I'm the eternal optimist and always hold out hope until proven otherwise. I'm so glad that cotton harvest is done, and I hope it is a long time before I have another cotton crop as bad as this one is. I know some of my other cotton's been gin, but I haven't had the time to check the gin records. But if I just had to guess overall from my yield monitor what we've averaged overall on about 520 acres, I'd have to guess it's probably somewhere in that 700 to 800 pound range, probably closer to 700 pounds than 800 pounds. You know, we did have some really good cotton. I think we had one farm at least that went over 1,000 pounds. You know, all that up there in Madison County was pretty dang good. But we had, 100 acres in Madison County of probably sub 600 pound cotton. And then we had this farm right here, another 30 acres of definitely sub 600 pound cotton. And the rest of it was everywhere in between. So that's going to be my guess, but I'll definitely let y'all know what the final tally is at some point here in a future video. I got to give props to my picker this year. I mean, overall, it's done a pretty dang good job. We've had a few issues out of it, but we've definitely had fewer issues out of it than we have in previous years. I'm not going to say I got this thing completely figured out, but we've learned a ton the last 3 years. We know what to look for, to head off problems, in season, and it's really performed well. We got a problem with one doffer stack. We had a bearing go down, and then other than like the electrical problems with the road track, can't really remember much else what went wrong. I mean, it's done pretty well. Everything on the baler part has performed flawlessly this year. But going forward, I need to get my friends at Delta Spindle to come out and look over my heads. I think I got 2 cabinets that are probably gotten warped a little bit, and just need to make sure that's not the case. I'm hoping they tell me it's okay, because I mean, I'm not going to have the money to spend on header overhauls this winter. I'd definitely like to try and get one more year out of these headers before I have to do a lot of work on them. And what's my plan for cotton next year with the terrible crop that we had? Am I going to cut back on my cotton acres? Nah, I'm probably going to have about that 500 pounds, just because we don't know what things are going to do next year. The prices for everything other than canola, don't look profitable. I'm not really going to cut back on any of my acres and, increase acres of another crop, because, nothing right now looks profitable on paper. I have my doubts on that changing much this winter, and then we have no idea what the weather's going to do next year. And corn, we're probably, I'm not going to say my most profitable crops, but probably what lost me the least amount of money. Wheat, wheat I made a little bit of money on. Corn, I came really close to breaking even. Where I really lost my shirt this year was on the cotton and soybean crop. It could be completely flip-flopped next year. Corn and wheat do terrible. Cotton and soybeans do great. You just don't ever know, and I really don't like making rash decisions for the following year based upon how terrible a crop did the previous year, because we just can't predict what's going to happen next year with the weather and whatnot. So I'm going to try to stay diversified, try to keep a pretty even rotation. We're introducing canola into the rotation, hopefully give us a profitable option. Really going to take a good look at that. Might look at potentially expanding that in future years, just depending on how it does next year. I do know on my cotton crop though, next year I am going to make some changes. I've already implemented some changes for next year, starting off with my cover crop mix. I took a Balanza clover out of the mix because that was one of the species that did cause some planting issues last spring, just because of how well the Balanza clover grew, how much biomass it accumulated and kind of spreading over into my burn down strips. You know, that added to some of our issues planting, so I removed it from the mix. Put crimson clover back in the mix because we don't have that problem with crimson clover. And this spring, whenever I start doing my burn down strips, I'm gonna make dang sure that I get a good kill on my strips, because every time that I don't get a good kill, whether I sprayed when it was too cold or cloudy or whatnot, every time where I've sprayed and I've just really stunted the cover crop really good, I've had issues with cotton planting. So I'm gonna make dang sure that I get that strip killed. Probably gonna up my rate of Roundup some, and if I find out that I did not get a good kill, it doesn't matter how busy I am, I'm gonna hook back up to the hooded sprayer and make another pass across it to make sure I kill those strips good, because I've got to go a year without replanting cotton. And that's going to be my goal next year, is to not replant any cotton, get it planted as early as I possibly can, get it off to a good quick start, and hopefully set the stage for a really big cotton crop next year to make up for this piss poor crop we had this year. All right guys, here it is, the last 6 sorry rows we've been looking for this year. Well, that's it guys, cotton harvest is done with. Wrapping our last one of the year. Looks like we wound up with a 68-inch module there. All right, let's watch it here on the tailgate. Look at that pretty green. I need to call my baling green guy, tell him I'm gonna go ahead and pre-order another pallet of wrap. We didn't touch that one pallet of yellow Tama wrap we had left over from last year. We still got 1 roll of green left from this year. So ordering 1 pallet and having another pallet plus 1 roll, that ought to cover a pretty dang big cotton crop next year that I'm planning on having.
And just like that, cotton 2025 is officially done and over with.
Well, I'm gonna get this transformer broke down for the last time this year, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed this cotton harvest a whole lot more than I did. Anyway, appreciate all y'all watching. See you in the next one.